Welcome to the WHIP. Thank you for joining us, whether you're at home here in Guyana, you are in the diaspora, whether that's the Caribbean or the larger world internationally. Wherever you're joining us from, welcome to the WHIP. We have a very interesting discussion ahead. We are talking to the new chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly. Many questions to ask, and we want to get right to that. Let me give you a sense of the order paper for today, or today's agenda. Again, we're going to be talking with the new Public Accounts Committee Chairman, Mr. Jermyn Figuera, Member of Parliament. We're going to talk about the importance of the current work of the committee. And then we could have him on, and we didn't talk about, get an update on the status of the flood efforts, the flood relief efforts in Region 10 that he represents. But first, folks, but first. Mr. Chairman, a very good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, sir. The whip. Let's fight.
Welcome, sir. Congratulations, first and foremost.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm most humbled by that. Yes.
Great. When we talk with our MPs on this show for the first time, we like to ask them about their entry into politics and what may have motivated them to get into politics, one, and then to become a member of Parliament. The same question goes to you.
Oh, thanks for the question. Sure, I've never pursued politics. Surprisingly, I've never pursued politics. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Right ahead.
Oh yes, I was saying I've never pursued politics, but I've always been very vocal, very candid about issues that affects people, even at school, at college, university, wherever I am placed. I've always been that type of outspoken individual. And I think I lend a voice to the voiceless, and I speak for persons who are not as bold as me to speak up when you need to speak. So, I mean, I figure the different positions I would uphold, and as a result of me speaking up at my school level, one of the executives of the union said, Figueroa, I think you should run for the chairmanship of the region. And I said, I don't like the Guyana Teachers Union, to be blunt. I said, y'all don't know none of the teachers. And she said, she reversed that to me, said, well, you have an opportunity to make a difference. Why don't you? And I took up the challenge, and it was a very, very good experience. I mean, in the union was somewhat defunct in the region after those two individuals were suspended. Teacher Wonder and Teacher Mayfield Green, who were very active in the union, and they were arbitrarily dismissed from the union. So they were looking for somebody to take up the mantle, and they encouraged me to do so, which I did. And then we revitalized the union in the region. I mean, the Guyana Teachers Union arm in Region 10, when they call union meetings, you used to get like 20-something, 30-something people. So when I took over, myself, Miss Minerva Monroe, and some others executive, we really worked assiduously to bring back the support of the membership to the point when we call meetings, used to get at least 300 to 500 teachers present. So we had a lot of work we did in representing teachers' interests. So being an MP, I mean, let me tell you a story. In 2012, sure, for the very first time I was in Parliament, my friend and I visited the Parliament, and surprisingly, a lot of Guyanese don't know that you could actually walk into public building and observe the debates. I was one of those persons at the time in 2012, and one of the MPs was debating on the floor. And I thought that to myself, I said, I think I could do a much better job than the MP, man. And one of these days, I have to sit in one of those chairs without giving it much thought. But, as God had it, it became a reality 3 years later. So I never
Fantastic.
really choose politics. Politics apparently choose me. But I've always been an advocate for representing people's interests. I feel good serving people basically, and I work for an organization that provides me that opportunity to serve people from a humanitarian perspective. And I believe if we are to really affect change, you have to be in the seat of power. And politics, in some regard, presents that opportunity. I never really liked the term politician, I must say, because it has so many negative connotations ascribed to it. We call you a crook, a liar, a trickster. So those negative connotations never really um, I never really liked to be called a politician. When people say you're a politician, I jokingly said, no, I just happen to be in a political position based on those negative connotations that are ascribed to politicians. But
Mhm.
that's where we are. I'm about serving the people, I'm about servanthood, and that's what I will continue to do in or out of parliament. Serve the people and make representation wherever the representation needs to be made.
Excellent, MP Figuera, Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. Let's turn our attention to the work of that committee that you now head. MP Figuera, in a seminal work, Anand Gulsaran, uh, on the topic of public accountability at the crossroads, the Guyana experience, asks the question, or rather quotes Harold Wilson, who says that the essential fact is that the Public Accounts Committee, the essential fact is that the Public Accounts Committee, let me find my way. The Public Accounts Committee of the House is responsible to the House as a whole, he says. It is not a battleground for party factions. He goes on to say, this is Harold Wilson, I believe it is true to say that the authority of the committee is greatly enhanced by the unanimous character, and I hope the complete objectivity in its report. It is fair to say that the many honorable members on both sides have made great endeavors to have sometimes sacrifice personal views to ensure that this shall be so. What, in your estimation, is the work of the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly?
Well, I missed part of the embryonic presentation you made, but with regards to the question that you posed, the committee is being touted as one of the most important committees, and it is led based on Standing Order 82-2. It basically says that this committee shall, and as a trained attorney, a trained person in the law profession, you will understand the importance of the word shall be from the main opposition. And the before it came into the constitution and the standing order, there had to be an agreement. And in an effort for good governance, it was agreed by both sides of the divide that the main opposition should man and chair this committee in an effort, essentially, for good governance, for accountability, for transparency. So the function of the Public Accounts Committee primarily is to approve is to examine all of the account that was approved by the National Assembly for the expenditure of government, the government of Guyana spending of taxpayers' money, essentially. Is also to provide general supervision on the functions of the Office of the Auditor General in accordance with the rules, policies, procedure, the manuals, and other laws. And more importantly, the PSC will also nominate members of the Public Procurement Commission, which essentially will have the blessings of the president, and also make the determination for the emoluments and other benefits for those said commissioners. So the committee is a very important committee, and those are just the functions. There are also rules, the roles of the committee, which is to ensure compliance with the financial regulations by all ministries and departments, as well as the public sector organization, to maintain transparency, to maintain accountability. And we thoroughly have to examine the reports prepared by the Auditor General to ensure that accounting officers respect from each ministry, from each department, um, give proper explanation to the inquiries and issues that may arise as a result of the Auditor General's findings, and more so if those issues are in breach of the financial regulations, they must account for that. And we have seen during my time being a member of the Public Accounts Committee where some officers, some PSs, some regional executive officers could not have would have been in breach of a lot of those financial regulations, and they had to account for why is it that they breached those financial regulations, why they were misappropriated the people's money. So the PSC essentially is like a watchdog organization for public spending. So we have a lot of responsibility as members of the PAC to ensure that our taxpayers' money, donations from other countries and so forth, are managed and spent in the best interest of the country. We have to ensure that no form of corruption is done. And if those things are done, we have to expose it. And those persons who are responsible for violating those financial regulations should be held accountable for it. So it is a very important task we have at hand. And I'm confident and persuaded that the team that we have, guided by Miss myself and Mr. Patterson, Mr. Ganesh Mai Paul, Miss Joretta Fernandez, and the other members on the other side of the house. I believe we will have to understand and act in a manner that the people of Guyana would be most pleased when it comes to us examining those spendings in accordance with the rules, the regulations, and the policy that give guidance to the Public Accounts Committee.
Fantastic. For those persons who are now joining us, we're talking with the new chair of the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly of Guyana, Mr. German Figuera. He's a member of parliament, and he was recently elevated to this status as chairman. We've covered thus far his entry into politics, what may have motivated him, and we've touched on what constitutes the work of the Public Accounts Committee. And as you join us, we invite you guys to share the live stream. Mr. Figuera, what is currently before the committee for examination in terms of its work moving forward? We know that there's been some ups and downs in the last 10 months or so. What is currently before the committee?
A lot of work, first and foremost. And you rightfully said, Sharon, this despicable motion that was put by the PPP administration to remove Mr. Patterson has really would have really handicapped the work of the PSC. We're still at 2016 reports for us to scrutinize, which is way back. I mean, so much work is to be done, and all of this could have gone a very far way had it not been for this absurd, ridiculous, unjustifiable motion that succeeded in the House for the removal of Mr. David Patterson. But with regards to the question, the thing foremost on our agenda is to continue from where we left off, where we were. We made advertisement for the Public Procurement Commission. Those commission, the life of that commission came to an end, and there's need for new commissioners. So advertisement were put to the public, and persons would have made their applications. So at the next meeting, we have to see how many applicants would have made application to become commissioners of the Public Procurement Commission, and we have to, as a collective, peruse those qualifications of the number of applicants and make the decision of who will sit on the commission, so that the commission can be activated and do its work. So that is what is going to be foremost on the agenda, so that this can be done, because we understand the independence of the commission and the importance of its work, rather than the cabinet approving all those multi-million-dollar contracts. The Public Procurement Commission will have to play that role, and as soon as we get that, I think it can mediate all of the views of corruption that we believe is being unfolded as a result of those willy-nilly allocation of government contracts to friends and cronies of the PPP administration.
Very well. And we know that Parliament is going into recess shortly for 3 months. What do you think is manageable? You said we are still in 2016 in terms of examination of the public accounts. What do you think is manageable before Parliament goes into recess? Or do you even think that based on the amount of work and the setbacks we've had, that Parliament should even be contemplating going into recess based on the fact we had a national flood, it's a pandemic, and there's lots and lots of legislative work that the opposition wants to engage in. The PPP has promised legislative work, but they have not, gone in that direction at all. But the opposition got lots of work that they want to do. Do you think we even should be heading into recess? And what do you think might be manageable if and before we head into that recess period?
Well, if it was up to me, I would not have gone into recess, to be quite frankly. But there's certain rules and procedure that gives guidance to the nature of those things. And the PPP, I don't believe, is very much care about the legislative aspect of what has to be done in the legislature. I mean, they would have essentially prorogued the parliament for 98 days. So
Yep,
it's
agreed.
one big question if they're really serious about the work that has to be done in that arm of government. But with regards to the PAC, like I said, Sherrod, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of catching up to do, because we really want to get to the 2020, 2021, where we believe massive corruption would have taken place. And we have to complete those different years in an effort to reach to where we really want to reach. So it is our intention. I mean, we would have sent out notices for a PAC to happen next week, Wednesday. We wanted it Monday, but you're aware, Monday is a holiday, and we put to the members to attend a meeting on Wednesday to address this very important um, matter on the agenda, with the having discussions for the selection of members to sit on the Public Procurement Commission. We want to conclude 2016. We will be merging 2017 and 2018 reports in an effort to expedite the work that has to be done. And we will be endeavoring, Mr. Duncan, to call PHC at least 2 times a week. A lot of backlog of work has to be done. And we, as members of the PHC, are prepared to do the work. And it's going to be very unfortunate if a lot of the ministers who sit at the PHC can't attend. But we are least concerned about their availability to come and sit, because the standing orders provide for 2 members and the chairman for PAC to be conducted. So I know all of the opposition members on the PAC are prepared to work, and that's what we will do, because the people's business is paramount over the functions of a irrespective minister. They have a lot of other MPs that can be nominated to sit. There's no need for ministers to sit on the PAC. So for those ministers who can't make it, just recuse yourself. Give another MP, a backbencher, for example. Let them sit. Let them get the experience. So the work of the PSC, Mr. Duncan, will not be handicapped on the whims and fancies and the desires of the ministers of the government. We have a lot of work to do, and we are prepared to do it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. If we got to call PSC 2 times a week, that is exactly what will happen, because the people's business is important, and we have to give account for the spending of the people's money. And we have to ensure that transparency and accountability is achieved, and that can only be done by us as members of the PAC doing our work. And that should not be handicapped in any regard, more so the backlog of work that has to be done.
And that is great news. I'm certain that the Guyanese people can appreciate that the members of the opposition, yourself as chairman, Mr. Mahi Paul and Jarita Finance, all members of parliament are ready, and Mr. David Patterson are ready to put your hands to the plow and work on behalf of the Guyanese people. And you've said a very important thing, that if ministers are preoccupied with government work, then we would appreciate, or we hope that all of their members that they would have taken to parliament are competent people who can sit on this committee and move the work forward. We did say in passing that the PPP would have brought this most vindictive and malicious motion to remove Mr. David Patterson as chairman. Do you see this and other efforts on behalf of the installed PPP regime as trying to stymie the work of the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly?
Well, I don't believe it's only to stymie the work of the PAC, it's also to stymie the work of the entire legislative arm of government. Like I said, Sharon, they would have essentially prorogued the parliament for 98 days. So they want to stall the work of the legislative arm, or more so to prevent the opposition from bringing to the nation's attention a lot of the ills that they have been being involved in as an administration. So this attempt was indeed to stall the work of the PAC with this motion that they brought, an unjustified motion, a motion that is not based with evidence or facts. It is an allegation motion, and if you look at the minutes, it can speak to substantiate what I'm saying. So that is why I said it threatens the architecture of the procedural aspect of the parliament, the committees, all the work that we are going to be involved in. This sets a very bad precedent in the manner in which we operate as the legislative arm in parliament. Because willy-nilly, the government that could come tomorrow and say, I have no confidence in Figueroa, or I have no confidence in Duncan, who leads
Yeah.
another committee,
Yeah.
based on frivolous accusations. So
Mhm.
we're saying it sets a very bad precedent. And that's why we fought valiantly in our defense for Mr. Patterson to remain as chairman of the committee. But the tyranny of numbers was used by the PPP administration to remove him, which is most unfortunate. We're not a parliament of reason. We're not a parliament that debates ideas and visions for the collective benefit of all of the people. I mean, the opposition has presented a multiplicity of good vision and ideas for the development of this country, for the benefit of the people of this country. And all of it went to naught because of the numbers game. This government is not about the national development of this country, where all of the people of this country can benefit from the patrimony of its country. The fishermen has said, based on the flaring by Exxon, they have lost over 50% of their livelihood. And yet still the government through the EPA would have approved Exxon to flare. So you're not concerned about your people. You're not concerned about the livelihood of the average Guyanese citizen. Because if you did, you would have listened to the views and the ideas of more than 50%. In my honest view, I believe the opposition represents more than 50% of the adult population in this country. And numbers don't lie. And it's unfortunate that our evidence-based elections petition was thrown out for a frivolous thing as a date. The substance of the and the content of the elections petition, given the importance of this country moving forward. I mean, the learned judge just threw it out on a technicality. What kind of society that we're living in when good sense don't prevail and a mere technicality affects half of an entire population? To put an end to the suspicions, let the evidence be perused, let the evidence go before competent jurists, and let the outcome of those revelations be revealed to the nation so we could put a rest to this situation that currently affects the progression of Guyana, where all citizens of this country can benefit. One group of the six races in this country should not be the only beneficiary, while others are given tokenism of some form as if to appease them. We are Guyanese, bona fide, born and bred Guyanese, and we deserve a right as citizens of this country, as taxpayers of this country, to benefit from the patrimony in every regard. Foreigners be given better treatment than bona fide Guyanese. Foreigners are given acres of land and hectares of land, and Guyanese can't have a house lot. And those who have house lot, the government wants to take it away. it makes no sense. And the government, if they're not taking it away, they're selling it at exorbitant prices. You are building houses, you claim for Guyanese, poor Guyanese, and charging $20 million for a house, and you don't even want to give them an increase in their salaries 2 budgets later. This is not a government that cares for the people, Sherrod. But we have a resolute position that we are going to represent our people. We are going to represent every Guyanese who voted for us or who didn't vote for us, because we believe we are the best alternative to lead this country, and we will continue to showcase our ideas, share our ideas, our vision for the betterment of the country, for the development of the country, so the people of Guyana can benefit as a collective.
Excellent, MP Figuera. And I totally agree with what you have said there. Some of the news media who are covering your ascension to the chairmanship of the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly quoted you as saying that this is not a victory. This elevation and what has happened here is not a victory. Could you comment on that for us and even expand on it?
Most definitely. Listen, like I said, we believe that the motion had no merit. We believe that Mr. David Patterson was doing a phenomenal job as chairman of the PAC. And we believe that this move by the government creates a very bad precedent for the parliament and the work that has to be done. I had given examples of why I say it sets a bad precedent. We have never had this. Essentially, it's like the government trying to give dictates to the main opposition who they should repose confidence in. 31 of us on the debate of this motion in the National Assembly voted full confidence for Mr. David Patterson. So when I say it is no victory, that is what I mean. I mean we it is the opposition right, based on the constitution, based on the standing orders. Standing order 82.2 states very definitively, very pellucid, that it is the main opposition who will chair this committee. And it is the main opposition who has to repose confidence in any of its members to chair the committee, not the government. And this move essentially, even though some may not want to see it as that, it is indirectly trying to give dictates to the opposition who they should choose. If I don't like Pato, let me come up with a ridiculous concoction of words and say that this man doesn't have the confidence of the PAC, that you have the majority. But that confidence is not to be reposed in you, because it is the main opposition on the PAC who scrutinizes you. We are the watchdog over you. So you can't say to us who you like or who you should have the confidence in. No, that's not your remit. We would have respected the position and the principles of the Constitution and the standing orders, which said then, and it says now, that the confidence of who chairs the committee has to come from the main opposition. And that is why when Mr. Ali, with 19 criminal charges, was was selected and was voted for to be the chairman of the committee, we as the government then respected the constitution, we respected the standing orders, we respected the confidence the opposition, the then PPP at the time, reposed in Mr. Ali to chair this committee. We did not say because he has 19 criminal charges against him, he's not fit and proper to man the affairs of the PAC. No, we said the confidence that they repose in Ali to chair this committee is welcomed by us because we respect the Constitution, we respect the standing orders. And that is what we adhere to, that is what we respect. Now they are saying to us that no, we don't want partisan, and come up with a ridiculous concoction, use the tyranny of their numbers to remove a good man who was serving very well at the PAC level. So I do not see this as a victory. But as the saying goes, shared in our Guyanese vernacular, When you remove one Rasta, another will take his place. And we will be very resolute in our scrutiny of the public purse to all officials that comes before us. And I'm happy that Mr. David Patterson, with his experience, his wealth of experience, will continue to give guidance to us as young MPs who are sitting on the Public Accounts Committee. And we will bring the fire of scrutiny to all of the accounts that comes before us with his guidance. So you think you win, but you have lost the battle because we are a collective, we are a team, and we will bring the team's effort to full fruition in our scrutiny, in our examination of those reports when they come before us.
Fantastic. And finally, MP Figuera, as we look to program time and the adjournment of our program, with all this work you have in the PAC, you're also a member of parliament representing Region 10. And we know there was massive flooding in Region 10 in the course of this national disaster, national flooding. What are the measures that are in place, or what is being done to date to bring some relief to the people of Region 10?
Well, rightfully so. I mean, based on the CDC's report, Region 10 has exemplified leadership with regards to its disaster relief efforts. We would have set up our own task force. We would have invited many players from different sectors to be a part and sit on the task force to add value to it. And we are working assiduously to bring relief to our people. The government would have stepped in, but we believe much more is needed to bring real relief to the people. We don't believe giving the people 2 weeks hamper of food is sufficient when you would have knocked off hundreds of persons from the public sector, many of which were doing their own bidding to relieve themselves with some chicken farms, some ducks, some animals, and all of those have died. So they're back on the breadline. We believe you giving them 2 weeks food hampers is grossly insufficient. You have a lot of residents in Kokwani, Rockstone, even right around the communities of Linden, whose homes were flooded, whose electrical appliances were damaged, whose furniture were damaged, and the government has not shown any inclination to help. The residents of Lamp Island on the waterfront area in Kokwani are still submerged underwater. It has receded to some degree, but it is still there. It is stagnated water. There's a potential risk of Zika infection, a potential risk of dengue fever because of the stagnated water. There's a potential risk of a cholera outbreak, leptospirosis. So government has to go in there and provide the necessary assistance, fog out the area, fog out around Linden. A lot of these water are stagnated. You have taken away the work from the residents of the community who usually clean the drains to prevent the flooding that we are currently experiencing. You have taken away that job from them. So the water has nowhere to run off because the drains are clogged. So a lot of infrastructure work has to be done. Government is being very lethargic, very lackluster in their approach to bringing that much needed assistance. We have said to the Prime Minister in Parliament, are you going to be giving serious consideration to the idea of clearing lands right close to Kokwani where persons can be relocated? Give those people those house lots for free. Put in the infrastructure for them for free because the right where they are living, was under the PVP administration that they would have regularized house lots in a
Yeah.
flood zone area. And the Prime Minister said that's not their immediate focus. What then is your immediate focus? People supposed to live in shelters
Valid
forever?
question. Yeah.
Give
Valid
them the
question.
assistance that they need, and that is what we're saying. And we continue to ask you come to the parliament for supplemental for additional money. A lot of those monies will be going to the Ministry of Public Infrastructure or Public Works, who has not spent 50% as yet of their budgetary allocation to do infrastructure work. And we have so many damaged roads, bridges, and drainage networks in this region, and that is yet to be done. We have a road, for example, that borders two major communities in Linden at Wismar, Wisrock Block 22. And that road is in a very deplorable state, Shared. It is punctuated with potholes. some as big as gutters and trenches. And the government has failed to bring redress to the people of that community who are saddled with additional burden to pay the taxes far more than the actual price that they have to pay because of the state of the road. And you are not using the people's money to bring betterment to them. It is totally unacceptable. And the people of Region 10 is not going to accept that. We are going to continue to make representation because it is our money. It is the taxpayers' money government is spending. And the taxpayers' money must be spent to the benefit of the people of Guyana.
Yeah.
This is not PPP money or it's for red villages and communities only. This is Guyanese taxpayers' monies. And the development must come for all the people. And we have PPP supporters who live on both sides of the community that this major access road is being neglected by this administration. So I don't know what more needs to be done to for the Guyanese populace to have an understanding that this administration has failed them. So many people have been affected with COVID. People are dying, Sharon. Young children that the government was aware were being hospitalized. Never brought that to the public's domain
Yeah.
until we would have exposed that.
Yeah.
It is a sad state, and the Minister of Health should be recalled. He should be given a no confidence motion on him and let him resign because what he is doing is putting the health and safety of an entire nation at risk. Imagine before I go, share they purchased this Sputnik vaccine that we would have raised an alarm on, legitimate alarm for the safety of our supporters, our safety of every Guyanese. So be very careful with this particular batch of vaccine that was purchased to a third man. Imagine yesterday, thousands of vaccine share, thousands of taxpayers' money that was spent on this vaccine expired. The government intentionally purchased vaccines double the price, close to the expiration date. How unconscionable, how corrupt an act
Yeah.
of that nature was. You know, the entire nation's vaccination rate was below 5,000. You can't get more than 5,000 people on a daily basis to be vaccinated. But you bought so much of vaccine and at such a close expiration date,
Yeah.
knowing the data,
Yeah.
one has to conclude that this had to be a corrupt act because even the other batch that is supposed to be expired on the 1st of August, you will, based on your capacity to vaccinate people, a lot of thousands of other vaccines will also reach that point where it is expired because you don't have the proper system in place for mass vaccination beyond 5,000. So you are spending taxpayers' money, not using the sense of the data that is available to you to get the best result. And you know what I learned recently too, Sharon?
Tell us.
This Sputnik vaccine has a lifespan. It is so unique compared to the other vaccine. A lifespan of 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Do you understand? So imagine you could have
Interesting.
purchased vaccine with such a length of time compared to Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson and Johnson. It has a longer expiration date, but you paid double for it, and then you bought so much close to the expiration date, and you don't want the Guyanese to accept that these were intentional acts to commit corrupt practices with the people's money. It's totally absurd. In
Yeah.
Region 10, we have the lowest vaccination rate, despite all of our efforts to get the people to be vaccinated. They have legitimate concerns. They
Correct.
have a lot of unanswered questions. The ministry is doing a terrible job of informing people. And I am saying more has to be done. The confidence that I'm experiencing by so many calls, so many texts, so many engagements with residents of Linden and Region 10, it is because of the leadership of this administration. They have failed us. 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 And I am saying more has to be done. The confidence that I am experiencing by so many calls, so many texts, so many engagement with residents of Linden and Region 10 with regards to the excitement that was emanating out of the announcement of the Cuban vaccine. A lot of a lot of the residents in the region have said to me that they would be most willing, Sharon, to take the Cuban vaccine. Will the government take this into consideration? Because a wide cross section of the Guyanese population, and the Region 10 is just a microcosm of that confidence that is being reposed in this news of the Cuban vaccine.
Yeah.
Why
Vaccine
not
hesitancy.
purchase the Cuban vaccine, whose efficacy rate is of an international renowned repute
Yeah.
in the 90s? So why not procure it from your Caribbean neighbor? And the relations that we would have established with Cuba for decades could be most beneficial for us as a nation just to buy from our sister Caribbean state a vaccine that your people would be most comfortable in taking. And I am persuaded if the government goes in that direction, Region 10 would top the charge with regards to its vaccination rates. I am persuaded in that regard. So why not give it a try? You're already
Yeah.
spending 2 times what I think is worth. Why not take half of that and spend it with the sister state and let the people of Ghana be safe after being vaccinated? So
Very well. Very
a
well.
lot of work has to be done.
Indeed. Indeed.
The struggle
MP,
continues.
MP German Figuera, a lucha continua. The struggle continues indeed, and we want to thank you. And we were most delightful that you use your chairman's prerogative to go beyond our half hour. We were more than delightful to accommodate that, and for you to firstly telling us about what motivated you to enter into politics, giving us what is the mandate of the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly, walking us through what would be the current focus of the committee, and then telling us what lies ahead for that committee, and also giving us an update on what's happening, giving us an update on what is happening in Region 10 as regards the flooding there that was declared a national disaster as it is occurring in all 10 administrative regions of our country, but more so doing a lot of damage in Region 10. Doing a lot of damage here in Region 10. And folks, we want to thank you as well for joining us this afternoon in what is billed as a
Sherrod,
half.
let me
Go right ahead, German. MP Figuera, go
before
right
I
ahead.
go, Sherrod.
Go right ahead.
Hello?
Go right ahead.
Yes, before I go, let me take the opportunity to thank you for an appearance. Let me thank you for the opportunity to having an appearance on your new platform, the Whip. I'm a fan of In the Ring. Let's fight. And more so to take the opportunity to thank a lot of the residents of Region 10 and around Guyana who has been contributing to bring real relief to the residents of Region 10. I would like to thank the Caring for Others organization that has been playing a phenomenal role in bringing real relief to the residents. A lot of the churches, Pastor Stills would have played a pivotal role in helping to mobilize the churches to bring serious aid and assistance. The Linden Chambers of Commerce, persons, Guyanese in the diaspora who are from this community and out of Region 10 who would have contributed significantly. We want to say thank you for all that you have done and all that you are continuing to do to help the people of our region. We're most grateful. We're eternally grateful, and we can't say thank you enough. So once again, thanks, but more help is needed, and we welcome all the assistance that can be afforded afforded us at this time. So once again, Shara, thank you very much for having me on your program, The Whip. Most appreciated.
Indeed. Thank you as well for your appearance. And as we're saying thanks to you, members of the public, staying with us these 45 minutes and what is billed as a half-hour program to look at all things parliamentary, the issues and individuals of the House, scrutiny of our bills and motions, questions brought, answers table, and more so, how all of this affects you as Guyanese. Thanks for joining us, folks. Thanks for joining us.